Hello, my name is Chris Sossaman, and I am the CEO and founder of Tea Royalty, an Arizona-based tea company. And today we're going to talk about the different types of tea. And we've all heard of all kinds of different types of tea, but the amazing thing is that they all come from the very same plant, the Camellia sinensis plant. So all teas come from the very same plant. Now, we even, in America, anything we brew, we consider a tea. I mean, we could brew an old shoe and be like, ooh, leather tea. But truly, a tea, to be called a tea, has to have actual tea plant in it, which is the Camellia sinensis. So a lot of times people say, I'm having chamomile tea or apple tea or mint tea. Well, those are herbal infusions or herbal blends. And a fruit blend, we call it tisane. But they have no caffeine. They are not based in the tea plant at all. They're just different groups of spices and herbs and flower petals and fruits to make up these herbal blends. But today we're going to talk about true teas. So the very same plant processed differently makes different teas. So theoretically, you could take one tea plant and process it 5 different ways and have 5 different basic types of tea. So the first one we have is called a white tea. And they're gaining popularity here. White teas are just the leaf or 2 leaves in a bud plucked and then air dried right in the tea estate, just right outside in the tea estate with the sun. So they're not processed in any way. So they're very unprocessed. And you can see they're full of stems and big leaves and things like that. So that is a white tea. White teas are very good to take on the blends and the flavors of other inclusions. Like if you were to put a little bit of fruit or flower petals or something, that would come through because the tea itself does not have much of a base taste just because of how it is processed. The second tea, I'm sure we've all heard of matcha. Well, this is a green tea with a matcha powder. And also it has little popped rice in there. This was a style of Japanese tea decades ago that actually caught on, and I think they did it during the war to sort of stretch their tea. And they would put this popped rice in their tea. Well, I think the flavor caught on because it's still very popular today. It's called gin matcha. But this is a green tea with matcha powder. Now, a matcha is a green tea leaf, Japanese style, that they grind the whole leaf. So it looks like a powdered green. And so they've mixed this powdered matcha in with this green tea and the popped rice. So this is a basic pan-fired green tea, a very popular way that Chinese process their green teas. And it is plucked from the field, brought in immediately, macerated, so chopped, and then fired on a dry wok, basically a kettle underneath with a flame and a giant stainless wok, and it's just stirred until all the moisture is left from the tea. So this is a Chinese style pan-fired green tea. And you'll notice it's sort of flattened. This is another style of green tea. It's called gunpowder green, and you can see it's sort of like little balls. It's sort of just rolled green tea. And this became popular, I think, probably when they were shipping tea on cutter ships and old ships around the world a century ago. They probably were in a big barrel and someone thought it might have looked like gunpowder. But it is just another way of processing a green tea. This is also what an oolong tea looks like. Now, an oolong is between in taste and flavor and processing in between a green tea and a black tea. So this would look like an oolong, but it's actually a green tea. So it's just processed a bit longer. This is your traditional black tea, whole leaf black tea, and it's an English breakfast, which is very, very popular, something that we drink quite a lot of in America. So we've all kind of seen that, just basic black tea. This one is called a pu'er. Now, centuries ago, they would take pu'er and they would form it into cakes and they would keep the moisture level up, not quite dry it, not quite let it, and they would turn it piles, almost like a compost, but it made for a very, very, very smooth tea. And so this pu'er tea, this tea is blended actually with little bits of almond in it. So it tastes very much mouthfeel like a coffee, but not anything acidic. So all the tannins and the acids are sort of oxidized out of this tea. So they used to have aged pu'er, which was very, very expensive. And they used to even use it as currency. They would make a cake of it, and you could take that pu'er cake and trade it for other goods. And they used to put it, they would bury it in caves and put weights on it to compress this cake. And they had special little knives that you carved it off with and would brew it, a little flake of tea. But this is a young pu'er because aged pu'ers are very expensive, like Scotch or ports. And so this is just a wonderful tea, but it has got a very distinctive and different flavor than a black tea or a green tea. So you have all these flavors, yet once again, they all come from the very same plant. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you.